You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Cabral Concept. Great to have you with me here today on this Friday review where we have so much to catch up on, so much to talk about. Really looking forward to the show. Really a lot's been happening over this past week, and by the end of the week, I like to share with you what's been going on with the Integrative Health Practitioner Program, our private practice, what I've seen in the research, the news, what books I'm reading, products that I'm reviewing. And we've got a lot to talk about today. So what I want to do is dive right into it, and starting really with a popular question that I've been getting about how do you help family members or how do you help people that are essentially not on the same journey as you, meaning that you're really transforming your mind, you're transforming your body, you're learning more about health, you're learning more about wellness. You understand that you should be eating more organic food, not because it has a difference in carbohydrates, fats, or protein, but simply because that it has more nutrition. It does have more minerals. It does have more vitamins, but also it does not contain the toxic and cancer-causing pesticides of many conventional-based foods. So, I get this question quite a bit in my private practice. I see it all in our Facebook support group, cabralsupportgroup.com. And what I like to say is this, is that it is very challenging to try to convert people that are not warm to the topic. So my goal in every one of my practices is this. On an airplane where they always say, put on your oxygen mask before assisting others, right? Well, that is what you need to do. As I was going through this process, getting myself well many years ago, I would try to share the information with others because I was super excited about it. But the problem was I was sharing it with people that weren't interested in hearing the message. Not only were they not interested in hearing it, they didn't want to hear it. They were anti whatever the message was. And the reason was this, that if they listen to the message, if they understand it, if they take it to heart, that means that they need to do something about it. And most people do not want to change what they're currently doing because it takes effort. It takes work, and they simply don't want to go through that. So just the short message for today is begin to take care of yourself. Get yourself really well. Lead by example. People will see what you're doing and they will want some of that. Do not try to convert in the beginning. People have to be ready for the message. So just a quick little excerpt there. I'll be talking about that more on our Mindset and Motivation Mondays. But I do understand the challenges, and I get it. A lot of you are living with a partner or family that simply does not want to eat healthy or exercise or do any of these things. Keep doing your thing. Keep finding that space for yourself to do what you need to do, and then try to slowly integrate that. I've seen so many success stories with families that eventually people came around. They start to see the difference. They did a 7-day, 14, 21-day detox. It was a catalyst to get them going. So keep on fighting that good fight. We're all in this together. And I'm telling you, when people are ready, they'll ask. And when they ask, that is your opening to just share a little bit more information to get them started. Don't overwhelm them. Don't feed them with that fire hose, right? Just give them a sip of water at first. Let them kind of ease their way into it. I know you want so much for them, but then they will start to come around. That's what it's all about. So hopefully that helps. We'll talk more about that again in our future Motivation and Mindset Mondays so that you stay on track and, of course, eventually helping others as well. One thing I want to talk about right before we get into a book that I'm just really loving that I want to share with you and some research is the package, the bonus that we're giving away right now, and it will be ending either today or tomorrow, is our entire healthy lifestyle bundle. So what I did was I gathered 5 products that I use every day and that I think are amazing for people to have in their life. Like I just feel that everybody should have these things. And so that's why I put it together. It's under $100. It's basically a $100 package. And it's blue blocking glasses for computer use or nighttime use, watching TV or staring at your phone or computer. It is a dry brush, which takes you 1 or 2 minutes maximum, probably a minute before you get in the shower, to move that lymphatic system. Great for the skin as well, besides helping to just move that lymph and detox. Then there's the Ayurvedic tongue scraper. It's a copper tongue scraper, antimicrobial, antibacterial, helps remove the bacteria on that tongue, freshens the breath, freshens the mouth, but also gently stimulates those digestive organs. And then we have our supplement box, the same supplement box I have at home, at the office, and one that I travel with on the road. It's the same one that we use in our private practice. All the integrative health practitioners know what it's all about, and now we just offer it to the public as well. And the last one that we have as part of that lifestyle bundle, that healthy lifestyle bundle, is the shaker bottle. And that is the amazing stack shaker bottle we have, the all-in-one, that literally gives you 3 servings in it. You can put in extra servings of powder. Some people use it for creatine. Others use it for the healthy gut support. Some people use it for putting berries in there for a snack for later in the day. Some people use it for adding some of the raw nuts that they might put in there. So it's pretty amazing, and it even has a hidden compartment for your vitamin capsules. So we are giving all of that away, which I think it's pretty insane but awesome. Like, that's what we decided to do at equilibriumnutrition.com. So any purchase over $199 at equilibriumnutrition.com, you literally get a $100 bundle with that. That is while supplies last. So if it's still going on, great. If it's not going on, I apologize. I know you'll be listening to this podcast maybe a year from now, or maybe even 2 days from now, and it's already gone. So this offer is super limited, and it's for essentially our community, our podcast listeners. I just want you to have all of these items. I said, can we make this happen? Team took about a month to get back, and they said, we can do it. We can make it happen. That's what we did. Head on over to equilibriumnutrition.com. It's absolutely amazing, and this is the last day or so to get that. Okay, couple other updates. Level 2 of the Integrative Health Practitioner Program is now open. So it doesn't mean the doors are open for signups, but we are now, anyone that's signed up previously, Level 2 is now open. Super excited about that. We just did a call with all of our integrative health practitioners live in our private Facebook group, answered all the questions in there, a lot of fun. And essentially, now we have our second level. What is the second level? Well, we're teaching those that have become health certified for level 1. So they're integrative health practitioner level 1 certified. They're a certified health coach. Then they can choose to move on to level 2, which is teaching them how to do the food sensitivity test and the stool test and the organic acids test and the adrenal hormone test and then the thyroid adrenal hormone test and the hair tissue mineral analysis and the omega-3. So we teach all of those labs, essentially our big 5 lab tests, plus the stool. It's an absolutely amazing. This is truly the next generation. This is the future of health, in my opinion. This is healthcare. It's not sick care. We're teaching people what are the underlying root causes, imbalances, whatever you want to refer to it as, that are not allowing people to live their best life. They're waking up sluggish. They've got skin rash issues. They've got low energy and brain fog and joint pain and inflammation, autoimmune issues, digestive issues. They have all sorts of issues, and they run their blood work and it looks pretty good for the most part. Well, does that mean they're healthy? Absolutely not. What it means is that blood work is simply not the best marker for everything going on in the body. Do I use blood work? Of course. I run my blood work twice a year. But it's not the end all be all. It simply lets me know I don't have a disease from a conventional medicine perspective. Doesn't mean I'm balanced, which is why I run my functional medicine lab test. So that's what I recommend for everyone in the world to do. It's simply the best thing out there. It's what I did 20 years ago to figure out what was wrong with my body. 20 years ago? Yeah, but 20 years ago. So it's pretty amazing. It's been quite the journey. And, if I do anything, if I can pass anything on, it is the ability to run these tests. We are the first company in the world, which I'm proud to say that. I really am. We're the first functional medicine virtual company in the world to really open source these labs so that you don't have to go to your doctor, so you can purchase them online, and we ship to 19 countries. No one's ever done it before. It's not easy. I'm not saying it's not easy. I have some really exciting news that's already happening in Australia. I can't give you the exact details. However, your import taxes on labs is just, it's not even there anymore. So it's pretty amazing. There are still import taxes, yes, because your government does charge taxes. But before, they were at a much higher price. It's so much lower now. So I'll give you the exact statistics after it's been done for a month, but it's already going on right now. Super transparent. We got all the codes done. Remember, we're the first ones to do that. Literally, if you're the first one to do anything, you end up with a lot of battle scars. And we've got quite a few. But someone had to do it. And I just wanted it to be us because we're ethical in the way that we do it. We include everything that you could possibly need. We don't leave you hanging with just a PDF. You get a call with our health coaches, and I review your labs, and you get the exact plan for you. And so, I couldn't be more excited with where Equilibrium Nutrition is going. Our team grows by 2 or 3 new team members a month. It's incredible, and it's a lot of work. It's an incredible amount of work, but it's all worth it. Like, this is exactly what I've really always wanted to be doing. I'm teaching integrative health practitioners. I'm working with my health coaching team who are helping thousands of people to heal. And that's really it. So super excited about that. If you don't know anything about the labs, I'm not going to try to sell you on them. You can simply go to equilibriumnutrition.com and you can just see if a lab makes sense for you. I always recommend getting your research, like doing your homework, understanding what it's about, and that's it. But the truth is out there for you. That's the thing. I believe that there's an answer for everyone. And if you haven't found the answer yet, you simply just haven't found out what that imbalance is within your body. Okay. Last piece of this is that our vitamin D, our liquid vitamin D, has now changed. It is now 1,000 IUs per drop instead of 2,000. Why does that matter? Well, here's why we did it. There's always a method behind the madness. So here's what it was. We have people that should be taking 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, depending on their levels. So it's not based on anything arbitrary. It's actually based on 35 IUs per pound of body weight. So that means the average adult should take around 4,000 to 5,000 IUs a day during the months where they're not maintaining a tan. What does that mean, though? Well, it means that instead of our formula going from 2,000 to 4,000 to 6,000, we now have more leeway. And so if you're taking another product with vitamin D in it and taking another one with vitamin D in it, and then you're taking the drops, you want to make sure that you can dose it correctly for you. The other great thing is that once you have a child that weighs more than 40 pounds, they can do 1 drop of the adult formula. They can just do the 1,000 IUs. Because if you do essentially 30 times 40, you get 1,200. So you can just do 1 drop for 1,000. So it's easy to do. And what we did was we just dramatically increase the servings. It's 1,000 servings per bottle. So our goal is not to, we could honestly sell a product that you had to renew that every month. But with vitamin D, you should just be able to have your vitamin D. It lasts a year, depending on how you use it. And it's just such a great product. So that's why we did that. We got a lot of questions. Still the same great formula, still bound with the MCTs in there, and super absorbent. And how do we know that? We lab test everything we do. So we know the research through natural medicine as well. And then we use state-of-the-art lab testing to see if it's working or not. We test our daily nutritional support shakes. We have people use it and they run an organic acids test and we wow, look at all your vitamin levels. They're back up. Well, that's because you're using a great product. So again, you can test anything in the world and you can see if it works. That's how we know omega-3s work great, because we do a omega-3 test first and then we have them take omega-3s and then we do the omega-3 test somewhere between 10 and 12 weeks later after using the omega-3s, and we see if it's the right dosage for them. And 9.9 times out of 10, it's the exact dosage that they should be using for their lifestyle. Meaning, if it's someone that just doesn't eat that much sardines, anchovies, mackerel, trout, or wild salmon, then they're just not going to get enough omega-3s, because white fish is just not going to contain enough of those omega-3s. And unless you're eating them 3 to 4 times a week, you're not getting enough omega-3s. And again, anyone who doesn't believe it, it's okay. You don't have to believe me. That's what I tell people. I'm not preaching anything that I'm making you believe. You can simply run an omega-3 lab test and you can see, are my levels of omega-6s to omega-3s proper? And if they are, well, great. You're not proving me wrong. You're not proving yourself right. You're just balanced. It's great. We don't have to argue about this. We have definitive proof. But the other thing is you can test your theories. Is the omega-3 that you're taking right now, as long as it's mercury-free, all of those things, is it working for you? And what we found is that unless it's a higher EPA than DHA, it's not. And that's because the EPA is what's most deficient in most people. But the interesting thing is it's the EPA that's more anti-inflammatory and better for balancing those estrogen levels. So we find that to be tremendously beneficial, which is why lab testing, about 7 years ago, somewhere around there, we switched from a higher DHA, which still had EPA, to a higher EPA. Around 2012. And so, and we did that based on lab testing. So again, that's it. That's how things improve. Never bad to have DHA. Our products still have DHA, but they have twice as much EPA because we know that's what people need. We lab test, they look great, perfect. Now they have a 90% risk reduction rate for sudden cardiac death if their omega-3 saturation is 9%. It's all based on that science. So hopefully that helps. We have a great piece of research for you today. A lot of MDs, PCPs love to say, there's no research behind nutritional supplements. Well, there's as much research behind nutritional supplements as there is for any pharmaceutical drug. And people are like, oh, like the latest one I heard is someone said, I don't believe in adaptogens. Adaptogens are all marketing. Well, adaptogens would be something like ashwagandha. And last year in 2018, every Friday I did a superfood of the week. And I simply picked a vitamin, a mineral, or an herb. And I went through it and went through all the research behind each one. And you're welcome to go back to all the Friday reviews at stephencabral.com/podcast. And you can check those out. Now, ashwagandha, rhodiola, eleuthero, there's so many, right? They're called adaptogens, cordyceps, and they help the body essentially adapt to stress. Stressors could be a multitude of different things. And there's so much research on them. So when people say that, you just have to say to yourself, for one, you can simply type it into Google and you'll find it in PubMed. It doesn't mean you can look at any article, but these are published studies. So anyone that says that to you, they don't do any research. They don't do any research. Because I believe in research. Like I really do. It's like if someone presents something to me, I say, interesting. How long was the study? How many people? And if it's a long study and it's a lot of people, well, there's some truth to it. We have to figure out how does it relate in general life. So, that's just, again, do I believe pharmaceuticals work? Of course I do. I see them work. Do I believe it's the best method for people to use? I do not in most cases, not every case, but in most cases I don't. Why? Because it's masking an underlying condition. So, like if you have super high cholesterol from an unhealthy lifestyle, environment, toxicity, stress, heavy metals, but you don't know that and you take a statin, it doesn't make the heavy metals go away. It doesn't make the underlying inflammatory condition go away. It doesn't change your diet. Doesn't ask you to exercise. Doesn't force you to look at your ApoE genotype. So, like, that's the thing. It masks symptoms. Now, people are saying, well, I needed to do this because of an injury. Totally different circumstance. That's a acute-based issue. Or someone says, well, I was suicidal and I needed to take an antidepressant. I totally empathize with that and totally get it, and you should. Remember, life-saving conditions, acute-based conditions, I have no problem. You have a staph infection and you want to take an antibiotic. I get it. Like, listen, I understand. And I'm saying that there's a time and place. So don't get me wrong. Like, I believe in the research on natural medicine that's been around way longer, not just a couple thousands of years. We're talking about 100 years. We're talking a couple decades for most medicine out right now. And we're talking about thousands of years or the dawn of time with herbs. So, let's be careful of what we say, what has more research. All right. But a fun little study, not a little study, it's over 20,000 women that showed that those taking multivitamins, so a daily multivitamin, not even a good quality one, like not even the multivitamin that I would love for women to take, still showed an increase in lifespan. And, just for people out there who says, oh, well, it was probably through some strange low-level organization. No, this was actually done in America, and it was done through the National Institute of Health. So this is obviously, NIH is a very reputable organization, one of the most, if not the most. So that's, important to look at. And it was looked at over the course of 20 years. So, this is pretty important. I'm going to give you a couple of sides because, again, I'm always fair when looking at this. But the research stated that there was a 35% lower risk. That's clinically significant. A 35% lower risk of dying from heart disease over the 20 years when compared with women who did not supplement with the vitamins and minerals. Okay? And they did say that even those that just use the vitamins, 21% of the people use the daily vitamin and they did not include the mineral in it. Now, it's still good to have the mineral because they showed that a lot of the women did as well. But pretty important because here's what they did. They took out other factors because you could say, oh, well, these people were, they weren't diabetic, they weren't whatever. They actually controlled those factors. So they adjusted, they call it adjusting for other factors of influence, such as those with a family history of heart disease, right? That's important when you're looking at cardiovascular risk. They looked at weight. So were they overweight or not? Did they already have high blood pressure? Did they already have high cholesterol? Do they use a lot of aspirin because that would lower risk? Or do they use a lot of alcohol, which may increase risk? Do they have diabetes, which would increase risk, or blood sugar issues? What was their education, age, race, all of the other factors? So pretty interesting that they looked into that, and they still showed that there was a 35% less risk of dying from heart-based disease. So pretty important study, and I'm pretty impressed with it. I do want to say, and just to be fair, that a lot of people taking a multivitamin will oftentimes be trying to eat a healthier diet and oftentimes maybe be doing a little bit of exercise. So that does matter. I'm not going to say that it does not, but I've given a lot of studies on multivitamins. Now, again, I'm looking at it from an activated multi, like I'm looking at it from methylated B vitamins, not just putting folic acid. I'm looking at, for example, 6S methylfolate, like that's a very absorbable form, or nature folate. Like there's a lot of absorbable forms of folate. When you look at vitamin A, you're looking at a beta carotene, or when you look at a vitamin E, you're looking for like a D-alpha tocopherol. So there's a lot of, there's healthier versions of these vitamins, and I absolutely do believe in that. So that's important. But another factor I'd like to say is this. Good multivitamin is about $1 to $2 maximum per day. You get all of your vitamins, not at megadose levels, because I'm not a megadose supplement kind of guy. We'll use it in the short term to help rebalance the body, but we certainly don't use it in the long term. What do I consider long term? Well, after the 4 to 6 month mark. Okay, we got to level back out the body. The body's had a full 4 months to turn over all of its cells. Hopefully, the absorption of those minerals and vitamins is much higher, and we're going to get the clinical benefit, and then we'll maintain with something like our daily foundational protocols, which is what I use myself. And then during times of higher stress or whatever it might be, then we'll use other things again to what? Supplement our lifestyle. You can't be super high stress and say, oh, I'm not going to use any supplements. Well, you shouldn't be super high stress. But if you are stressed because of life, work, family, etc., there's nothing wrong with doing something to balance that naturally. So anyway, what I say is this. You're looking at, I call it a fail-safe. My foundational protocols allow me to get all the nutrients I need, not at a mega dose level, but at a normal dose level. So if I weren't to get those nutrients for the day, I'd already be covered, right? And we know that the soil from before the 1960s, even if it's organic food, has anywhere from 13% to sometimes 60% less of the minerals in that soil, and as actually bacteria as well, which helps to make a lot of those vitamins. So that's important to look at. I look at it as a fail-safe. I've seen anywhere from 3 years to 7 years longer lifespan. And again, I'm honestly not as concerned about it. It's certainly helpful, but what I do is I use it as a fail-safe. So I wanted to bring that to you. The research is there, but I just want you to say, yes, eating healthy always comes first. Trying to exercise always comes first. And then you use this as not a replacement for poor lifestyle, but as an add-on to an already healthy lifestyle. That's how I look at it. Okay, hopefully that helps. Now, I know I'm going long. I've got a lot, just because there's a lot that I really wanted to bring to you this week. So 2 more quick things. One, a book that I'm really just moved through. I ended up reading it a lot faster than I thought, because usually I'm reading a couple books at the same time. And this one's called The Oxygen Advantage. It's by Patrick McKeown. I probably didn't pronounce his name right. I apologize. I might actually see if I can have Patrick on as a guest on the podcast. So if you know Patrick and you would like to reach out or just let him know, we recommended his book called The Oxygen Advantage. Fantastic. So here's what I want to talk about with it. Well, first of all, I had a client, and I people ask me, how come you don't name your clients? How come you don't name the Olympic athletes you've worked with, the world champions you've worked with, the celebrities you work with? Is because we're not a big marketing company. I believe in client confidentiality, and I don't do those things. So it's if people don't believe it, it's okay. I'm okay with that. I got into this field to help people, not to say, hey, look at me, I'm working with this person. Again, I have no problem with that. If a celebrity says, I'd love you to use me as a success story or whatever, then sure, I would go ahead and I would maybe do that, but it's not even something that I ask. Maybe in the future we'll get better at that, but we simply don't. But one of my clients, who's actually a great doctor, a dentist, recommended this book. And if she's listening to the podcast, she'll know it was her. And she was talking about malt taping. I won't give away what all that is, but it's inside of this book, The Oxygen Advantage. Okay, so for me, it's very interesting because I have a strange relationship with overall oxygenation of my body. And I've known it for quite some time. When I was very young, around, a little less than a year old, it's a very strange story. I'm not going to go to the whole thing. But essentially, I was in one of those like cradle car seat type things, and I was up on a counter, and the whole thing fell over, most likely because I was screaming and crying and kicking and, already had a pit of mentality when I was like 6 months old. And I fell face first, strapped in, and broke my nose. Now, again, you can't really break your nose when you're 6 months because the cartilage is so soft. But it did. So they don't know if my deviated septum is from that or the deviated septum is simply I was born with it. Either way, totally, it is what it is. It's totally fine. But I don't really want to and plan to have that fixed. So then when I was growing up, I was drinking a lot of milk and eating a lot of gluten and all those things, and I had a lot of mucus. And I really developed into a mouth breather. And it's because I couldn't really breathe through my nose because my sinuses were always blocked. Because of that, I have my tonsils removed, I have my adenoids removed. I'm one of the only people I know who've had the adenoids removed twice. It shouldn't happen, but they apparently didn't get them all the first time. I can't think of how it would have happened again, but there must have been something that was allowed to get inflamed again. So I had them removed. The last time was around 21 years old and always had an issue, and then finally removed a lot of the inflammatory foods from my diet, started doing detoxing, all those things, and now doing great. I could breathe through my nose, all those great things. However, and I always knew this, again, like I have great energy, all these things, I'm happy, all that, but my overall oxygenation of my tissues is not great. And after reading this book and using what's called the BOLT test, the body oxygen level test, pretty much confirmed what I believed is I'm over breathing, unconsciously, but still over breathing. And the reason is that the receptors in your brain get almost oversensitized to carbon dioxide. And so what happens is we breathe, and the reason we breathe, we're especially breathing out, is to remove that carbon dioxide. Well, what happens is the more we're doing that, the less oxygen we're actually bringing to a deeper tissue level, like to our muscles and all of that. So some people just get good at compensating. Again, you can be a great athlete and be a compensator. So I did not do great on this test. Now, it's interesting because I did a previous podcast with our breathing doctor that we had on. And if you didn't check out that podcast, that was with Dr. Belisa, and that was on episode 923. So just go to stephencabral.com/923. Woman, amazing doctor, amazing coach. And I had her on, and I was taught how to breathe properly again around the same age, around 22 years old. I can actually remember right now. I learned about diaphragmatic breathing, and I learned that when I studied. It was one of the first people, and I'm not saying like that's anything great, but the National Academy of Sports Medicine had just essentially opened up, and they became a really great organization. And we were one of the first groups. We were a higher end health club, and they brought in some of their instructors. I can remember Lenny right now coming in and teaching all of us. And there was about 33 of us. And anyway, so I learned about diaphragmatic breathing, about how to belly breathe rather than chest breathe. And I've always taken that with me. However, it does not necessarily mean that you're oxygenating the tissues as much. So it's interesting. So I like both of these. Again, maybe I will have Patrick on, but this is a great one to do. I'll let you know right now my score was not good. So I'm going to work on this over the next, it's probably going to take me, I would say, 6 weeks to 8 weeks. And I'd love to be able to report back about maybe a new level of energy. You know that what I'm all about is always trying to push, not in a stressful way, but always trying to take our energy, our health, our well-being, our mindset to the next level. And I'm excited that if I can bring more oxygen to my tissues and I can essentially breathe less, even if I'm breathing properly, and it's more relaxed, that actually should translate to more energy. And so I'm excited about that, and I will absolutely share that with you. All right. The last item for today, so let me just link this up in the show notes today. It's called the Oxygen Advantage. Just head on over to stephencabral.com/113 for all of today's show notes. Okay, the last item for today is this. Saw a couple people in my practice this week. They ran a stool test, and they have a parasite. Now, it might be Blastocystis hominis. It could be any number of parasites. So I told you every single Friday, 2019, I'm going to bring you some lab test result number that you should know about. So what I've decided to do is this, I'm teaching this in level 2 right now. I've done previous podcasts on parasites. I would love for you to just go to stephencabral.com/podcasts and check out the previous podcasts on parasites. I will see if we can remember this. I'll see if my team can link up the previous Parasite podcast. Okay, so just head on over to episode 1113, and we'll see if we can link those up. But I'm going to talk more about it in a couple weeks. Some of the more hidden signs, because two of the people that I've been working with, they have no real overt signs of parasites that I've spoken about before. You know, the diarrhea, the loose stool, sometimes the forehead acne or back acne. But they have other signs, and I'm going to review those in a couple weeks because they oftentimes are lesser known. They're hidden. What I want to go over is this today, though. The only real way to see if you have a parasite is a stool test. You can run blood work and your basophils might be elevated. You can see other markers. Well, I'll tell you this. It doesn't tell you what parasite you have, and sometimes it doesn't detect them at all. So you run a stool test, and ideally you run a 3-day stool test with your doctor. So you can run this with your, sometimes PCP will do it, definitely a functional medicine doctor, or you know that at equilibriumnutrition.com, you can simply order the stool test and you can do it at home. So here's the issue, though. Oftentimes, it works better after you've used a bottle of Florafilm for a month. 2 capsules upon waking and 2 before bed. It's what's called a biofilm disruptor. And the reason why I mention that is that a biofilm, a lot of people don't know this, but essentially a biofilm covers parasites, protozoa, it covers bacterial overgrowth, it can cover fungal, yeast-based overgrowth. And it's essentially this gel-like matrix that grows in your intestines. And it does that because it's a protective house. It's like a roof over the bacteria, the parasites, the fungus that they want to become resistant to your own immune system. And your immune cells have a harder time activating them. There's oftentimes heavy metals in these biofilms, and they're made up of what are called exopolysaccharides, proteins, nucleic acids, sometimes cellulose-based structures. It's almost like building a nest in the intestines. So what a proteolytic enzyme does, or something like Florafilm, it helps to remove that layer. And then the parasites are most likely more exposed, and then they'll show up in the stool. So we don't have most people do that, but a lot of people do, and they might see even more parasites. So the good news is this, is that you can detect the parasites on a stool test. It will tell you. And then you can use proven herbal protocols to remove those parasites. And that's why I want to give people hope, is that when you do have parasites, they can be removed either through medication, an antiparasitic if you want to go that route, or through a natural-based protocol, and then really rebuilding that gut. And I've done previous shows on that before. So just wanted to bring that to everyone. I'll be linking up the Parasite podcast on today at episode 1113. If you think you have signs of a parasite, I can't recommend enough either running the stool test, or you can just go right into the parasite-based protocol, completely up to you. And I hope that was helpful today. So thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Cabral Concepts. And I will be sure to be back next week, but not before we do our weekend house calls. Our weekend house calls are every Saturday and Sunday, where we answer our community's questions. Again, about 10 questions or so per day. Always excited about that. Hope you have an amazing weekend. And be sure to not miss out on that healthy lifestyle bundle offer while those supplies last. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Did you know that the body really only becomes sick or imbalanced in only 2 ways? Over time, you become deficient in vital nutrients, and you also accumulate toxins internally and from the environment. As those nutrients diminish and you increase your total toxic load, your body then begins to show the first signs of dis-ease. It's actually quite predictable, and the good news is that if we know how you began to fill up that proverbial rain barrel, we also know how to empty it to begin the healing process. I was fortunate enough to learn this ancient healing process from my mentor after suffering from debilitating diseases for close to a decade. It was only when I began to implement these techniques did I finally overcome my illnesses and go on to live a life of energy and vitality that I now enjoy. I'd like to share with you now what I discovered after traveling all over the world and how to combine the best of ancient healing wisdom with state-of-the-art science. Allow me to teach you exactly how I've been able to help over 250,000 people to empty their rain barrel and begin to transform their body and lives into what they've always hoped they could be. To get your copy of the international bestseller, The Rain Barrel Effect, simply go to stephencabral.com/rainbarrel.